In our last episode, we discovered that upward mentoring relationships have a shelf life. So we need to be prepared to transition the relationship into more of a peer mentoring one. This will require an intentional separation and redefinition of the relationship. And failing to do so will be unhealthy for both the mentor and the mentoree. In this episode in this series, we will conclude our discussion on peer mentoring by asking what determines what level of peer relationship will develop. And what are the options possible for a peer mentoring relationship?
Welcome to Leadership Matters with Dr. Phil. His podcast discusses matters of leadership that really matter. Phil has had the privilege of mentoring leaders and coaching ministry teams around the world for several decades, and he's really looking forward to sharing with you some of the principles that have been so helpful for others. Leadership is about serving others, not power or position. Regardless of our context, family, job, ministry, or any circle of influence, we all have the potential to be this kind of leader. A foundational leadership skill that is often overlooked is mentoring intelligence. This series is based on the materials Phil has developed over a lifetime and taught in a variety of cultural contexts. To access all of our podcasts as well as our bonus leadership resources, just click the links in the description below or go to icmcanada.org/leadershipmatters or icmcanada.org/mentoring-intelligence. So now, let's join Phil as he discusses some leadership matters.
Even if someone has been fortunate enough to have an upward mentoring relationship, it will eventually need to transition into a peer one. The nature and purpose of the mentoring relationship, as well as how complementary both parties felt the relationship was, are strong indicators as to the success of the transition to a peer relationship. The type of peer mentoring relationships that will develop is dependent on many variables, though. Peer mentoring provides many of the same benefits as other mentoring relationships, but there are also certain additional benefits. One advantage is that each party can both be a mentor and a mentoree at the same time. It is also the case that peer mentors are usually more available and in each stage of our life and our ministry. Last time we looked at the 4 phases of a mentoring relationship, and we looked at we highlighted the importance of preparing to redefine the relationship at some point. Perhaps I can illustrate it like this. I don't know if you've ever taught someone to drive a car, but if not, I'm sure you can relate to having learned to be a driver yourself. I remember first teaching our daughter to drive while we're still living in Berlin many years ago now, but like many, we first began driving around parking lots. It's kind of safe there, as long as there's no cars parked. And she eventually progressed, though, to the road and was able to go pass her driving test. What happens the first weekend after she gets her license? Let's assume she comes to me and says, "Hey, Dad, I want to go out this Friday. Can I have the keys to the car?" Well, you see, I'm still thinking old school and old phase, and so I say, "Well, sorry, I'm busy. I won't be able to go." Well, she then states the obvious, which I should have picked up. "I don't want you to go, Dad. I want to go with my friends. All I need is your car." Well, my hands might get clammy and my blood may run a little cold as I realize that there's been a serious flaw in my plan in assisting her to get her license. I hadn't connected the dots fully that this meant my little girl was going to be out there on the dangerous roads in a metal weapon on 4 wheels, all by herself. But wasn't that the main reason for her to have a license in the first place? So that she could drive a vehicle independently on her own? So now all I need to do is just throw her the keys. Now, at that point, I can fumble around in my pocket and mumble something like, "Oh shoot, I wonder where those keys went. I don't seem to have them anywhere, and I guess you just have to stay home here in a nice safe place." Well, if you've had kids and teenagers, you know how good that will go over. See, at some point in the mentoring relationship, our mentoree is going to ask the equivalent of, "Will you throw me the keys?" We then have a choice to make, right? If it is all about control, we'll hang on to them and the keys and not allow the natural separation and redefinition phase of the relationship to take place. Is not the whole point of the mentoring relationship to equip them in order to release them? If we understand the separation phase as healthy, then we will not fight it or fight them. We'll take the initiative actually to redefine the relationship, just like we do with our adult children. This is the flaw of the spiritual fathering model that we talked about several episodes ago, that seeks to hang on and keep someone in our control and keep the relationship kind of an up-down relationship. The reality is that they will eventually get someone to throw them the keys. Trust me. If we don't, someone else will, and then we'll no longer have the influence in their lives. At that point, we'll actually wish we had given them our keys. So we can be part of this transition, or force them to be torn away from us. Those are really the only two options. Back to my driving analogy. Now let's assume my daughter went on to become a famous driver on the Formula One circuit. Obviously becoming very proficient and famous at what she does, much more than I ever did in driving. So I invite some buddies over on a Saturday night to watch her on TV. When she wins the race and takes the trophy, what do you think will go through my mind? Will I be thinking, who does she think she really is anyway, driving faster than me? And by the way, when she took that trophy, she didn't even mention my name. And to think that I taught her everything she knows about driving. Now, of course, that last point might not totally be true, but of course not. That's not what I'm going to say. I'm going to brag to my buddies. I'm going to say, hey, yep, that's my girl. Taught her everything she knows. Like I said, I might not taught her everything, no, but I'm going to be as proud of her as I can and take as much credit as I can. Isn't that what we should do with those that we mentor? We should be proud when they surpass us, when they go beyond what we were even able to do, see horizons that we never even saw. The last thing we should do is try to hold them back. Yet you and I both know this is unfortunately what happens all the time with threatened, insecure leaders, even within the church. Part of this is due to wrong leadership understanding and values, and a wrong understanding of what the mentoring relationship, what its purpose of it is at all.
Listeners of our Leadership Matters podcast have exclusive access to our free bonus leadership materials, which include our MQ assessments as well as his Developing Others workshop. Just click the link in the description or go to our website, icmcanada.org/mentoring-intelligence. If you would like to take a deeper dive into this topic, click on the link in the description box where you can download Phil's Mentoring Intelligence book and the workbook. In it, he discusses the key factors that affect our mentoring intelligence and then offers a practical mentoring model which leaders have been using for decades around the world. The Mentoring Through Intentional Relationship Guides are a practical model to actually help you mentor someone. They are available in several languages and over the years have been used by thousands of leaders. The content, discussion questions, and other tools are designed to assist you in mentoring a potential leader and are available at icmcanada.org/resources.
Well, not only is life a marathon, but it would seem the series has also become a bit of a marathon. But we're getting close to the end. But thanks for coming along for the ride. If your eyes are glazing over a bit, though, keeping track of all the material, and why not download the free workshop notes by following the link in the description box or on the website, as was just mentioned. It is all organized and easy to follow, and the best of all, like I said, it's free. You might want to also share some of this info with someone else, so that would be helpful to do that. As we saw last time through the story of King Saul, even if we can't find a mentor, we can take a page from David's playbook. We can develop our own team that can potentially walk the rest of the journey of life and ministry with us. Referring back to our diagram, in the redefinition phase of the mentoring relationship, the relationship can transition into three different types of peer relationships as I see it. After a healthy separation, both of us need to discover what new form of relationship will take, what the new form will take. Let's look at the three levels now of peer mentors: the contact mentor, close mentor, or the confidant. Now these range from the lowest level of commitment to the highest level. Now the contact peer demands little time and provides information regarding organization and ministry and career. There's typically limited personal experience though shared, and generally provides perspectives related to ministry or work only. Since there's limited trust, there's also limited personal feedback. On the other hand, the close peer begins to share direct and honest feedback, and there's more self-disclosure. There's more trust and self-expression. And since there are moderate levels of trust, there are widening boundaries of sharing. However, there's still limited exploration of family and work issues. And in ministry and in a lifetime, most people usually have 2 or 4 of these type of relationships. Now, the confidant is equivalent to a best friend, while there's still a strong sense of bonding with a wide range of support for family and ministry work issues. One is most vulnerable in this relationship, and free to share struggles, dilemmas, both personal and professional. We're the most open to share who we really are at this level, as it has the greatest self-disclosure and self-expression. These relationships are rare, and we usually only have 1 or 2 of such relationships in our lifetime, or at any given time for sure. While these types of relationships are resilient, they take great effort and years to develop. It's important to note, though, that relationships that begin as contact peers can develop into close and confidant types of relationships over time. But what determines the movement along this continuum from the contact to the close to the confidant? What are some of the factors at play in this happening? Do we have control in the process? I would kind of say yes and no. As with other mentoring relationships, the needs of the individual affect the movement on the peer relationship from contact to confidant. Stages of life are also a factor. During the early stages of life in ministry, the needs are different than for someone in the later stages of life in ministry. Now, besides career and ministry needs, the level of intimacy of the other relationships in our lives also determine how close we'll become with the peer relationship, as well as the level of the interpersonal skills that we may have in the mentoree, the other person will also have. That'll determine if we'll move closer on the continuum or not. Another factor which we have also previously discussed is the culture of the group in which we are a part. Are we part of a structure or a wineskin that encourages or discourages the development of these type of relationships? That's going to have a huge impact. But if throughout the relationship there has been a strong bond that has been mutually beneficial, then there's high likelihood that the peer relationship will be in the range of a close or a confidant on the continuum. If there's been less of a connection and less chemistry, it's most likely the relationship will transition to merely that of an acquaintance with only occasional future interaction, what I'm calling a contact peer. For example, I've mentored young men over the years, and I've lost contact with some of them, while others, like Carl, have become part of our team, and I consider them close friends and a colleague. So as a peer mentor, I learn from them and from others on our team. To be honest, and I'm kind of getting the better end of the deal, I feel, as I gain much more from them than I often have to give them. Just don't tell them that. This relationship, as many in our MC network, have been one of the greatest blessings in my life personally. Throughout the various stages of life, peer relationships can meet different needs and offer varied functions. Let me just briefly go over these. You can refer to the chart on the screen. Our 20s are generally considered the establishment stage of our life. During this season, the contact peer provides info as how to learn the ropes or navigate life. A close peer typically focuses on the need to get ahead and develop a professional identity. They are peers, but we are still in the same, looking up to them kind of stage. The confidant peer is more rare. They can help us develop a certain sense of competence, so there's still a certain amount of looking up to, but there's more of a peer relationship. Now, during the advancement stage in our late 20s and 30s, the contact peer provides help in advancing in ministry opportunities and increased visibility. The close peer, though, assists with opportunity and feedback, while the confidant helps with dealings with family and work dilemmas. The level of commitment is such that they can provide help in progressing in one's own life potential during this stage. Now, the middle stage of life, that being our 40s and 50s, the contact peer is not as important, as most of the peer relationships are younger at this point. Those in this stage generally are reworking older issues and learning new ways to approach life and ministry, beginning to depend on others to accomplish the tasks and ministries. Close peers during this stage can provide valuable feedback in how to mentor others, and how it teaches us how we can be coaches. Confident peers at this point, there's a greater trust, and so we can help at a personhood level, managing fears of obsolescence and the reassessment and redirection that may need to recur. Yes, we still need peer mentors during the late stage of life, which is typically in our 60s and beyond. Contact peers can help at this stage by providing information to help us stay connected with the churches or organizations that we still remain effective. A close peer assists the person in this stage of life as they transition to more of a consultative role in passing on responsibility to colleagues. Confidants have a unique role to play at this stage by providing emotional support and helping in the preparation for retirement. Confident peers relationships, as I said, are fairly rare, but they're really essential during this stage. Understanding these dynamics can help us remain healthy and productive throughout our entire life. Of course, there are other factors, but our relationships are an extremely important factor in a successful, fulfilling life. Since many will not be able to find an upward mentoring relationship, the only option may be to develop peer relationships that fulfill these needs in our lives. In our last episode, I will wrap up this series and provide a few more thoughts on developing your relational network. This is something you likely may never have thought of, but doing a relational inventory can change the trajectory of your relationships as you run your race. I've really enjoyed our times together sharing these principles and some of my stories, and I sure hope you join me as we wrap up in the next episode. But before then, I'd like to share and leave you a few leadership matters to consider. What has been your experience in releasing or not releasing those you have been mentoring? In what ways will the principle of separation and redefining help you in your mentoring relationships? And what kind of peer relationships do you have? What steps could you take to foster new ones?
Thank you for listening to Leadership Matters. If this has been helpful, please remember to like, subscribe, and share us. Doing this will enable others to benefit from this material as well. If you would like to partner with us to provide these materials to leaders who cannot afford them, please go to icmcanada.org/donation.